everybody! If you're reading in your book, we're on page 337. We're almost done, yay! Here we go. From the top of the clouds rose the decapitated peak of a mountain, its summit covered with snow. Clinging to the mountainside were dozens of multi-level palaces, a city of mansions, all with white column porticos, gilded terraces, and bronze braziers, glowing with 1,000 fires. Roads wound crazily up to the peak, where the largest palace gleamed against the snow. Precautiously perched, gardens bloomed with olive trees and rose bushes. I can make out an open-air market filled with colorful tents, a stone amphitheater built on one side of the mountain, a hippodrome, a coliseum on the other. It was an ancient Greek city, except it wasn't ruins. It was new and clean and colorful, the way Athens must have looked 2,500 years ago. This place can't be here, I told myself. The tip of a mountain hanging over New York City, like a billion-ton asteroid? How could something like this be anchored above the Empire State Building, in plain sight of millions of people, and not get noticed? But here it was, and here I was. My trip through Olympus was a daze. I passed some giggling wood nymphs who threw olives at me from their garden. Hawkers in the markets offered to sell me a rouge on a stick, and a new shield, and a genuine glitter weave replica of Golden Fleece, as seen on Hephaestus's TV. The 9 muses were tuning their instruments for a concert in the park, while a small crowd gathered satyrs and naiads and a bunch of good-looking teenagers who might have been minor gods and goddesses. Nobody seemed worried about an impending civil war. In fact, everyone seemed in a festive mood. Several of them turned to watch me pass and whispered to themselves. I climbed to the main road towards the big palace at the peak. It was a reverse copy of the palace in the underworld. There, everything had been black and bronze. Here, everything glittered white and silver. I realized Hades must have built his palace to resemble this one. He wasn't welcome in Olympus except in the winter solstice, so he built his own Olympus underground. Despite my bad experience with him, I felt a little sorry for the guy. To be banished from this place seemed really unfair. It would make anyone bitter. Steps up to the central courtyard, past that the throne loom. Room really isn't the right word. The place was the Grand Central Station, looked like a broom closet. Massive columns rose to the domed ceiling, which was gilded with moving constellations. 12 thrones built for beings the size of Hades were arranged in an inverted U, just like cabins at Camp Half-Blood. An enormous fire cracked in the central hearth pit. The thrones were empty except for 2 at the end, the head throne on the right and the one to its immediate left. I didn't have to be told who the 2 gods were that were sitting there, waiting for me to be approached. I came towards them, with my legs trembling. The gods were in giant human form, as Hades had been, but I could barely look at them without feeling a tingle, as if my body was starting to burn. Zeus, the lord of the gods, wore a dark blue pinstripe suit. He sat on a simple throne of solid platinum. He had a well-trimmed beard, marbled gray and black like a storm cloud. His face was proud and handsome and grim, his eyes rainy gray. As I got near him, the air crackled and smelled of ozone. The god sitting next to him was his brother, without a doubt, but he was dressed very differently. He reminded me of a beachcomber from Key West. He wore leather sandals, khaki Bermuda shorts, and a Tommy Bahama t-shirt with coconuts and parrots all over. His skin was deeply tanned, his hands scarred like an old-time fisherman's. His hair was black like mine. His face had that same brooding look that had always gotten me branded as a rebel. But his eyes, sea green like mine, were surrounded by sun crinkles that told me he smiled a lot too. His throne was deep-sea fisherman's chair. It was a simple swiveling kind, with a black leather seat and a built-in holster for fishing pole. Instead of a pole, the holster held a bronze trident, flickering with a green light around the tips. The gods weren't moving or speaking, but there was tension in the air, as if they just finished an argument. I approached the fisherman's throne and knelt at his feet. Father. I dared not look up. My heart was racing. I could feel the energy emaciating from these two gods. If I said the wrong thing, I had no doubt they could blast me to dust. To my left, Zeus spoke. Should you not address the master of this house first, boy? I kept my head down and waited. Peace, brother, Poseidon finally said. His voice stirred my oldest memories, the warm glow I remembered as a baby, the sensation of his god hand on my forehead. The boy deferred to his father. This is only right. You still claim him, then? Zeus asked menacingly. You claim this child who you sired against our sacred oath? I've admitted my wrongdoing, Poseidon said. Now I would hear him speak. Wrongdoing? A lump welled up in my throat. Was that all I was? A wrongdoing? The result of a god mistake? I've spared him once already, Zeus grumbled. Daring to fly through my domain? Pfft, I should have blasted him out of the sky for his impudence. And risk destroying your own master bolt? Poseidon asked calmly. Let us hear him out, brother. Zeus grumbled some more. I shall listen, he decided. Then I shall make up my mind whether or not to cast this boy down from Olympus. Perseus, Poseidon said, look at me. I did, and I wasn't sure what I saw in his face. There was no clear sign of love or approval, nothing to encourage me. It was like looking at the ocean. Some days you could tell what mood it was. Most days, though, it was unreadable, mysterious. I got the feeling Poseidon really didn't know what to think of me. He didn't know whether he was happy to have me as a son or not. In a strange way, I was glad Poseidon was so distant. If he'd tried to apologize, or told me he loved me, or even smiled, I would have felt it was fake. Like a human dad, making some lame excuse for not being around, I could live with that. After all, I wasn't sure about him yet either. Address Lord Zeus, boy, Poseidon told me. Tell him your story. So I told Zeus everything, just as it happened. I checked out the metal cylinder, which began sparking in the sky god's presence, and laid it at his feet. There was a long silence, broken only by the crackle of the hearth's fire. Zeus opened his palm. The lightning bolt flew into it. As he closed his fists, the metallic points flared with electricity, until he was holding what looked more like a classic thunderbolt, a 20-foot javelin of arcing, hissing energy that made the hairs on my scalp rise. I sense the boy tells the truth, Zeus muttered. But that Ares would do such a thing. It is most unlike him. He is proud and impulsive, Poseidon says. It runs in the family. Lord, I asked. They both said, yes. Ares didn't do it alone. Someone else came up with the idea. I described my dreams, and the feeling I'd had on the beach, that momentary breath of evil that had seemed to stop the world and made Ares back off from killing me. In the dreams, I said, the voice told me to bring the bolt to the underworld. Ares hinted that he'd been having dreams too. I think he was being used, just as I was, to start a war. You are accusing Hades after all? Zeus asked. No, I said. I mean, Lord Zeus, I've been in the presence of Hades. This feeling on the beach was different. It was the same thing I felt when I got close to the pit. That was the entrance to Tartarus, wasn't it? Something powerful and evil stirring down there? Something even older than the gods? Poseidon and Zeus looked at each other. They had a quick, intense discussion in ancient Greek. I only caught one word. Fire. Father. Poseidon made some kind of suggestion, but Zeus cut him off. Poseidon tried to argue. Zeus held up his hand angrily. We will speak of this no more, Zeus said. I must go personally to purify this thunderbolt in the waters of Lemnos, to remove the human taint from its metal. He rose and looked at me. His expression softened just a fraction of a degree. You've done me a service, boy. Few heroes could have accomplished as much. I had help, sir, I said. Grover Underwood and Annabeth Chase. To show you my thanks, I shall spare your life. I do not trust you, Percy Jackson. I do not like what your arrival means for the future of Olympus, but for the sake of the peace in the family, I shall let you live. Thank you, sir. Do not presume to fly again. Do not let me find you here when I return, otherwise you will taste this bolt, and it should be your last sensation. Thunder shook the palace. With blinding, flashing light, Zeus was gone. I was alone in the throne room with my father. Your uncle, Poseidon sighed, has always had a flair for dramatic exits. I think he would have done well as a god of theater. An uncomfortable silence. Sir, I said, what was that in the pit? Poseidon regarded me. Have you not guessed? Kronos, I said, the king of the Titans? Even in the throne room of Olympus, far away from Tartarus, the name Kronos darkened the room, and made the hearth fire seem not quite so warm on my back. Poseidon gripped his trident. In the first war, Percy, Zeus cut our father Kronos into 1,000 pieces, just as Kronos had done to his father Ouranos. Zeus cast Kronos' remains in the darkest pit of Tartarus. The Titan army was scattered, their mountain fortress on Etna destroyed, their monstrous allies driven to the farthest corners of the earth. And yet Titans cannot die, any more than we gods can. Whatever is left of Kronos is alive in many hideous ways, still conscious in eternal pain, still hungering for power. He's healing, I said. He's coming back. Poseidon shook his head. From time to time over the eons, Kronos has stirred. He's entered men's nightmares and breathes evil thoughts. He wakens restless monsters from the depth. To suggest he could rise from the pit is another thing. That's what he intends, Father. That's what he said. Poseidon was silent for a long time. Lord Zeus has closed the discussion on this matter. He will not allow talk of Kronos. You've completed your quest, child. That is all you need to do. But, I stopped myself. Arguing would do no good. It's very possibly angry the only god who I had on my side. As you wish, Father. A faint smile played on his lips. Obedience does not come naturally to you, does it? No, sir. I must take some blame for that, I suppose. The sea does not like to be restrained. He rose to his full height and took up his trident, then shimmered and became the size of a regular man, standing directly in front of me. You must go, child, but first know that your mother's returned. I stared at him, completely stunned. My mother? You will find her at home. Hades sent her when you recovered his helm. Even the Lord of Death pays his debts. My heart was pounding. I couldn't believe it. Would you... I wanted to ask if Poseidon would come with me to see her. Then I realized that was ridiculous. I imagined loading the god of the sea into a taxi and taking me to the Upper East Side. If he wanted to see my mom after all these years, he would have. And there was smelly Gabe to think about. Poseidon's eyes took on a little sadness. When you return home, boy, you must make an important choice. You'll find a package waiting in your room. A package? You'll understand when you see it. No one can choose your path, Percy. You must decide. I nodded, though I didn't know what he meant. Your mother is a queen among women, Poseidon said wistfully. I had not met such a mortal woman in 1,000 years. Still, I'm sorry you were born, child. I've brought you a hero's fate, and hero's fate is never happy. It's never anything but tragic. I tried not to feel hurt. Here was my own dad telling me he was sorry I had been born. I don't mind, Father. Not yet, perhaps, he said. Not yet, but it was an unforgivable mistake on my part. I'll leave you then, I bowed awkwardly. I won't bother you again. I was 5 steps away when he called. Perseus? I turned. There was a different light in his eyes, a fiery kind of pride. You did well, Perseus. Do not misunderstand me. Whatever else you do, know you're mine. You're a true son of the sea god.